Hi and welcome back to the channel. We're so glad you're here. My name is Nicole with morningchores.com and today we're giving you a midsummer garden tour. We are knee deep in summer and I thought it would be really fun to take you guys around and show you what is growing in the garden. Things are getting really big and we're even harvesting some produce. So I thought it would be fun to show you the progress of all the plants, and I'll also share some tips along the way. Let's head to the garden. Here I have planted a row of sunflowers plants that I planted on the northwest side of the garden. I just thought this would make a nice fence row and add a splash of color to the garden when the flowers start blooming. Who doesn't love sunflowers? They're just so cheerful. And as you can see here, I have very healthy leaves and they have grown amazingly tall in a very short period of time. So if you want something really easy to grow, try growing sunflowers. I planted elderberry plants for medicinal purposes. I like to make elderberry syrup for the cold and flu season because it helps build the immune system. I planted these as a stick last year and now, as you can see, it's a 5-foot bush. So if you do decide to plant elderberry plants, I would highly recommend planting them in a space with ample room because they do get really big. They can get as high as 10 to 12 feet tall. Our first pro tip is check your plants frequently to stay ahead of pests and plant disease. By taking the time every couple of days walking through your garden, you'll find things before they become a serious problem. As you can see here, I have something eating holes in my elderberry leaves and I discovered that they were made by June bugs. So I have been manually removing them and feeding them to the chickens. Next on the list is tomato plants, and I just did an entire video on how to care and maintain your tomato plants, but our tomato plants this year are doing very, very well. And we just noticed that we started having tomatoes show up on the plants. We're just waiting for them to get bigger and turn red. This here is a volunteer tomato plant, and I also have a volunteer here as well. And I found one in another spot in the garden all the way over there. In this corner of our garden is our strawberry patch, and it's pretty much done for, but when we were getting strawberries, we got a lot of delicious berries. For 1 week straight, I was getting about a quart a day, and we really very much enjoyed them. Now that our asparagus is done producing, it has created this beautiful fern-like structure, and eventually it will produce red berries. But I just let it go, and in the fall I will cut it back and it'll be ready to go by spring. Next we have cucumber plants, and I have a total of 4 to 5 cucumber plants, and these are all volunteers. Next pro tip of the day is a volunteer plant is one that grows on its own from a seed that was left behind from the previous growing season. Some of my most successful plants started off being volunteers. Here I have a sugar baby watermelon, and it's getting very viney and has these lovely flowers. And then here I have a cantaloupe variety, and it's already growing little cantaloupes. Our pepper plants are doing really well once we started getting really hot weather, and we even have had a couple of peppers. Here in the raised bed, we have our potatoes, and they're doing very well, although not as well as last year. Last year I had a lot more flower blooms on them, so I guess I'll find out at harvest time. But we are doing what's called successional planting with our potatoes. So I have my first batch here in the raised bed, and then my second batch I planted in the main garden a month later. I will be doing an entire video on what successional planting is in the upcoming weeks. Right in here in these few rows, I have my onions, and you can see they're laying down. They're also turning brown, and this means they're ready to harvest. So next week's video will be how to harvest onions, so you can look forward to that. In this row, I have my beets, and we've just been harvesting as we eat them. Third pro tip of the day: by planting a back-to-Eden garden and using wood chips for a covering, crowded plants will find ample space to grow even when space is limited. The last things to show you are our purple cabbage, which we'll be harvesting very shortly. We have our zucchini plant, and once you start seeing flowers, zucchini will shortly follow. And today I am harvesting my very first zucchini, and you harvest by using a pair of scissors or twisting off. And a new variety of plant I'm trying this year is cinnamon basil. Basil comes in a variety of flavors, and I've been really enjoying this infused in water with lemon slices. It's always a great feeling when your hard work pays off and you start harvesting your crop. I just love the satisfaction that comes from growing my own food, harvesting it, and then using it to feed my family nourishing food. Thank you so much for joining me in today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to stay tuned to next week's video. We'll be doing how to harvest onions. And also, I would love to hear what is going on in your gardens. Is there something interesting you're growing this year? Are you having some pest problems? Let us know in the comments section below. You can also head over to morningchores.com, where you'll find all kinds of information on gardening, homesteading, DIY, and much, much more. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.